The blood wouldn't wash off. Elena Torres scrubbed harder, her hands trembling as pink-tinted water swirled down the marble sink of the most expensive penthouse in Manhattan. This wasn't part of her job description. Cleaning lavish apartments for New York's elite? Yes. Disposing of evidence from what looked like a crime scene? Absolutely not. But it was too late to walk away now, because Dante Salvatore stood in the doorway behind her, his 6'3" frame blocking her only exit, his steel-gray eyes watching her every move like a predator studying prey. "You're very thorough," he said, his voice smooth as aged whiskey with that slight Italian accent that made every word sound like a threat wrapped in velvet. "That's good. I value thoroughness in my employees." Elena's heart hammered against her ribs. She'd taken this job 3 weeks ago, desperate to pay for her mother's medical bills and her own college tuition. The agency had called it a premium placement, cleaning for a billionaire businessman who valued privacy and paid triple the normal rate. They'd failed to mention he was also the most dangerous man in New York. "Mr. Salvatore, her voice cracked. She cleared her throat, forced herself to turn and face him. "I don't know what happened here, but I think I should leave." A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Dark stubble shadowed his sharp jawline, and his black dress shirt was rolled up to his forearms, revealing the tail of what looked like an elaborate tattoo. Everything about him screamed danger, from his perfectly tailored clothes that probably cost more than her mother's house, to the cold calculation in his eyes. "Leave?" He stepped into the bathroom and the space suddenly felt impossibly small. The scent of his cologne, something expensive and woodsy, mixed with the metallic tang of blood. "And go where, Elena? To the police? To tell them what, exactly?" She pressed her back against the sink. "I won't tell anyone anything. I swear. I just want to forget I ever saw." "Saw what?" He moved closer and she could see flecks of gold in his gray eyes. A man defending his territory? Protecting what's his. "I saw blood." The words burst out before she could stop them. "There was blood everywhere in your office, and now you're asking me to clean it like it's just spilled wine." Dante studied her for a long moment, something shifting in his expression. Then, to her complete shock, he laughed. A real, genuine laugh that transformed his severe features into something almost human. "You have fire," he said, a note of appreciation in his voice. "Most people who discover what I really am either faint or run screaming. You stand here and yell at me." He tilted his head, considering. "I could use someone with fire." "I don't want to be used for anything," Elena shot back even as fear coiled in her stomach. "I just want to leave." "Then leave." He stepped aside, gesturing to the door. "Walk out that door, Elena Torres, and go back to your life. Back to working 3 jobs to pay for your mother's chemotherapy. Back to taking night classes while existing on 4 hours of sleep. Back to watching your dreams slip away one exhausting day at a time." Her breath caught. How did he know all that? He smiled at her expression. "I know everything about the people who enter my home. Your mother Maria, stage 3 breast cancer. Your father, deceased 5 years ago. Your younger brother Miguel, freshman at NYU on a partial scholarship. You working yourself to death to hold your family together." He paused. "You're drowning, Elena. And I'm offering you a life preserver." "In exchange for what?" she whispered. "My soul." Nothing so dramatic. He pulled out his phone, tapped the screen and showed it to her. Elena's eyes widened at the number displayed. "That's what I'll pay you per month to be my personal housekeeper. You'll live here in the guest suite. Full benefits, including the best health insurance money can buy, which will cover your mother's treatments completely. Your brother's tuition? But your own education? Funded." It was more money than she'd make in 2 years at her current jobs combined. It was salvation. It was everything she'd prayed for during those long, desperate nights. It was also a deal with the devil. "Why?" she asked. "Why me?" Dante's expression hardened. "Because you saw something tonight that makes you dangerous to me. I have 2 options, eliminate the threat or control it. And something tells me you're worth more alive." He leaned in close, his breath warm against her ear. "Besides, I like the way you look at me, like you're not sure whether to run or fight. It's refreshing." Elena's mind raced. She thought of her mother, growing weaker every day. Her brother, who'd cried last week when he thought he might have to drop out of college. Her own dreams of becoming a nurse, of helping people, of being more than just a girl who cleaned other people's houses. "If I say yes," she said slowly, "I need ground rules. I won't be." "I'm not asking you to be my mistress, Elena," Dante cut in, though something hot flashed in his eyes. "I have plenty of women who'd line up for that position. I need someone I can trust in my home. Someone who's seen my world and didn't run. Someone who's bound to me by mutual benefit, not fear. His voice dropped. Though if you're worried about attraction, Tesoro, we should address the elephant in the room. I've seen the way you look at me too. Heat flooded her cheeks. It was true. Despite her fear, despite everything she knew she should feel, there was something magnetic about Dante Salvatore. Something that made her pulse quicken and her breath shallow. That's irrelevant, she said firmly, lifting her chin. If I work for you, this stays professional. Of course. His smile suggested he believed otherwise. Do we have a deal? Elena looked at his extended hand. Shaking it would change everything. She'd be stepping into a world of shadows and secrets, binding herself to a man who was clearly involved in things she didn't want to understand. But her mother would live. Her brother would thrive. She would have a future. Slowly she placed her hand in his. His fingers closed around hers, warm and strong, and she felt something electric pass between them. We have a deal, she whispered. Dante's smile was triumphant and dangerous. Welcome to the family, Elena Torres. Your life just got very interesting. 3 weeks later, Elena had learned 3 important things about living in Dante Salvatore's world. First, the penthouse she called home was actually a fortress. The panoramic windows were bulletproof. The walls held hidden compartments filled with cash, weapons, and documents. Every entrance had biometric security, and cameras monitored every inch except her private suite and Dante's bedroom. Second, her employer wasn't just a billionaire businessman. He was the head of the Salvatore crime family, one of the 5 families that controlled New York's underworld. The business meetings he attended were sit-downs with other Mafia bosses. The transactions he managed involved everything from high-stakes gambling to protection rackets to legitimate enterprises that laundered money. Third, and most dangerously, she was developing feelings for him. It was ridiculous. Insane. He was a criminal, a man who'd built an empire on violence and intimidation. But he was also the man who'd arranged for the best oncologist in New York to treat her mother personally. Who'd sent flowers to her mother's hospital room with a note saying they were from Elena. Who'd asked about her classes and actually listened to her answers. And then there were the moments, brief, charged, impossible, when their hands would brush reaching for the same coffee cup, or their eyes would meet across the room, and she'd see heat in his gaze that made her forget every reason this was wrong. Tonight, that tension reached a breaking point. Elena was in Dante's office, organizing files as he requested, when raised voices echoed from the hallway. She froze as the office door burst open and 3 men strode in, 2 she recognized as Dante's associates, Marco and Luca, flanking a 3rd man she'd never seen before. Dante rose from behind his desk, his expression cold as winter. Gentlemen, to what do I owe this interruption? The stranger, a handsome man in his 40s with salt and pepper hair and expensive suit, smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Dante, still pretending to be a legitimate businessman, I see. And who's this? His gaze slid to Elena. New decorator? Or new toy? Watch your mouth, Rossini, Dante said quietly, but Elena heard the threat in his voice. Rossini. She'd heard that name. He was the head of a rival family, one that had been encroaching on Salvatore territory. Touchy, Rossini observed. She must be special. I heard you'd taken in a maid. How very domestic of you. Tell me, Dante, does she know what you really are? Does she know about the blood on your hands? Elena, Dante said without taking his eyes off Rossini, leave us. But Elena couldn't move. Something about this felt wrong, dangerous in a way that went beyond the usual tension that surrounded Dante's business. Rossini's smile widened. Oh, she's not just a maid, is she? Look at how protective you are. This is delicious. He turned to Elena. Has he told you about Sophia yet, sweetheart? His fiancée. The word hit Elena like a physical blow. Fiancé? Get out, Dante said, his voice dropping to a lethal whisper. Now, before I forget the peace accord our families agreed to. Peace accord that you've been violating, Rossini countered. You've been moving into territory we specifically delineated as neutral. The commission won't look kindly on that. The commission will look at the evidence and see you've been fabricating claims, Dante replied. This meeting is over. No, Dante. It's just beginning. Rossini's hand moved toward his jacket. Everything happened in seconds. Luca shoved Elena behind the desk as Dante moved with inhuman speed, catching Rossini's wrist before he could draw his weapon. Marco had his gun out, pointed at Rossini's 2 guards who'd drawn theirs. Gentlemen, Dante said, forcing Rossini's hand away from his jacket, you're outgunned and outmaneuvered. Leave now and I'll forget this breach of protocol. From behind the desk, Elena's heart thundered. This was it, the real violence, the real danger she'd been carefully avoiding acknowledging. Rossini laughed even as Dante's grip made him wince. You've gotten soft, Salvatore. Love will do that to a man. First Sophia, now this little maid. When will you learn that men like us don't get happy endings? Out, Dante snarled, releasing him with enough force to make Rossini stumble. The rival boss straightened his jacket, smiled once more at Elena's shocked face visible behind the desk, and nodded to his men. We'll see you at the commission meeting next week, Dante. Bring your evidence. And your new girlfriend might want to watch her back. Accidents happen in this city. After they left, silence filled the office. Elena slowly stood up, her legs shaking. Are you all right? Dante asked, moving toward her. She stepped back. Fiancé? You have a fiancé? Dante's jaw tightened. Sophia Caruso. It's an arranged marriage combining our family's interests. I was going to tell you. When? Elena's voice rose. Before or after the wedding? It's not like that. Then what is it like, Dante? She heard the hurt in her voice, hated it. You made me think, I thought. She stopped, refusing to say more. You thought what? He moved closer and she couldn't back away anymore. The desk was behind her. Tell me, Elena. What did you think? It doesn't matter, she whispered. It matters more than anything, he said fiercely. He braced his hands on either side of her, caging her in. Do you think I offer my protection to everyone? Do you think I lie awake wondering what you're doing, who you're thinking about? Do you think I haven't noticed how you look at me when you think I'm not watching? Her breath caught. This is wrong. You're engaged, you're a criminal, and I'm. You're the first real thing in my life in years, he interrupted. Sophia is a business arrangement. We've known each other since childhood and we're friends, but we don't love each other. The marriage is expected, planned, political. But you? He lifted one hand to cup her face, his thumb brushing her cheek. You make me want to be someone different. Someone better. People don't change, Dante, she said, but she didn't pull away from his touch. Maybe not. But they can want to. His eyes searched hers. Tell me you don't feel this. Tell me I'm imagining it and I'll back away. I'll keep our relationship purely professional. Elena knew she should lie. Should protect herself from this impossible situation. But she'd never been a good liar. I can't, she admitted. I can't tell you that. The fire that blazed in his eyes stole her breath. Elena. But that doesn't make this right, she continued quickly. You're engaged. You're dangerous. And I'm just. You're extraordinary, he interrupted. You're brave and fierce and so goddamn beautiful it hurts to look at you sometimes. His voice roughened. And yes, I'm engaged, but that can be broken. My family will fight it, but I don't care. As for dangerous. He smiled slightly. Tesoro, you're in danger the moment you started making me feel things I swore I'd never feel again. What happened with Sophia? Elena asked. Rossini said. Sophia and I were supposed to marry 5 years ago, Dante explained. But she fell in love with someone else, a civilian outside our world. She begged me to call off the engagement. I did because I cared about her happiness more than I cared about the family alliance. His expression darkened. Her father found out about her relationship and had her lover killed. After that, Sophia agreed to honor the arrangement. She's been living in Italy since then. But she doesn't love me, Elena, and I don't love her. We're prisoners of the same cage. Then why not just refuse? Because in my world, some debts can only be paid in blood or bonds. The Caruso family lost face when I broke the first engagement. They demanded I honor it eventually, and I agreed before I met you. He leaned his forehead against hers. But I won't marry her now. I can't. Not feeling this way about you. Elena's heart soared and plummeted simultaneously. Your family will never accept me. I'm no one, just a maid from a poor family. You're everything, he corrected. And my family will accept what I tell them to accept. But I need to know, Elena. If I break this engagement, if I fight my family, if I risk everything, would you want this? Want me? It was insane. Impossible. Everything logical in her brain screamed at her to say no, to protect herself. But her heart had already made the decision. Yes, she whispered. Dante's lips crashed onto hers. The kiss was explosive, desperate, all the tension of the past 3 weeks igniting in a single moment. His hands tangled in her hair as hers clutched his shoulders, and she kissed him back with equal fervor, pouring every confused emotion into it. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers again. This won't be easy, he warned. My world, It's dark, Elena. Dangerous. You'll be a target now just by being mine. I've been a target since the moment I saw that blood, she reminded him. At least now I know what I'm fighting for. He smiled, really smiled, and it transformed his entire face. You're incredible. Do you know that? I'm terrified, she admitted. Good. That means you're smart. He kissed her again, softer this time. We'll figure this out together. But first, I need to handle Rossini and his threats. And then. His jaw set with determination. Then I'm going to have a very difficult conversation with Sofia and both our families. The next morning, Elena woke in her own bed. Dante had insisted, despite the heat between them, that he wouldn't touch her again until everything was resolved properly. Honor among criminals, apparently. She was making coffee when the elevator chimed. Her heart leapt, thinking it was Dante returning from his morning meeting, but the woman who stepped out was someone else entirely. She was stunning, tall, elegant, with dark hair swept into a perfect chignon and wearing a designer dress that probably cost more than Elena's entire wardrobe. Her dark eyes swept the penthouse with familiarity before landing on Elena. So, she said in lightly accented English, you're the maid. Elena's stomach dropped. She knew without being told exactly who this was. Sofia Caruso, Elena said. The other woman's perfectly shaped eyebrows rose. He told you about me. Interesting. She moved gracefully into the living room, perching on the sofa like she owned the place. I suppose he told you we're engaged? He mentioned it, Elena said carefully. Sofia laughed, but it wasn't unkind. I'm sure he did, along with some dramatic explanation about arranged marriages and not loving me. All true, by the way. She studied Elena with frank curiosity. You're not what I expected. What did you expect? Someone less genuine. Dante usually surrounds himself with people who want something from him. Money, power, protection. You look at him like he's just a man. Sofia's expression softened. That's dangerous for both of you. Elena sat down across from her. Did you come here to warn me off? No. I came because my father called me back to New York for the commission meeting, and I wanted to meet the woman who made Dante Salvatore call me at 3 in the morning to discuss breaking our engagement. Sofia's smile was wry. He was very polite about it. Very apologetic. Also completely determined. In 10 years of knowing him, I've never heard him sound like that. I don't want to cause problems. Too late. You already have. But Sofia's tone was gentle. Listen, Elena, may I call you Elena? I'm going to tell you something about Dante that he won't tell you himself. He's a good man trapped in a bad world. His father raised him to be the next head of the family, groomed him from childhood to be ruthless and strategic. But underneath that, there's a man who still believes in honor, who protects the weak, who cares deeply even when he shouldn't. Why are you telling me this? Because you're going to need to understand him if you're going to survive in his world. Sofia leaned forward. Breaking our engagement won't be simple. My father will see it as an insult, especially after I embarrassed the family before. The other families will see Dante as weak for choosing love over strategy. And there are people, dangerous people, who will see you as a target. Rossini already threatened me. Sofia's expression hardened. That bastard. He's been trying to undermine Dante's position for months. This will give him more ammunition. She paused. I can help if you'll let me. Help how? By making it clear that I support breaking the engagement. By testifying before the commission that I entered it under duress after my father killed the man I loved. Sofia's voice trembled slightly on those words. By standing with Dante as an ally instead of a jilted fiancé. It won't solve everything, but it might give you both a fighting chance. Elena felt tears prick her eyes. Why would you do that? Because Dante helped me once when no one else would. And because, Sofia smiled sadly. Because I know what it's like to love someone your world says you can't have. I lost my chance. Maybe you don't have to lose yours. The elevator chimed again and Dante strode in. He stopped short seeing Sofia. Sofia. I didn't know you were coming. Surprise? She said lightly, standing. I was just getting to know your Elena. She's lovely, Dante. Much too good for you. He moved to Elena's side immediately, his hand finding hers. I know. The simple statement, the way he looked at her, made Elena's heart flutter. Sofia watched them with something like wistfulness. I'll support you before the commission, she told Dante. But you need to be prepared. My father won't accept this easily and neither will yours. My father is dead, Dante said flatly. And I run this family now. They'll accept my decision. Your uncle won't. He already thinks you're too soft, too modern. This will confirm it for him. Sofia moved toward the elevator. Watch your back, both of you. And Dante? Don't let her out of your sight. Rossini wasn't bluffing about accidents. After she left, Dante pulled Elena into his arms. I'm sorry, he murmured into her hair. I'm sorry this is so complicated. So fix it, she said, pulling back to look at him. The commission meeting, when is it? 3 days. Then we have 3 days to prepare. What do we need to do? He smiled at her use of we. You don't have to. Yes, I do. We're in this together, remember? She touched his face. So tell me, how do we win? Over the next 3 days, Elena got an intensive education in Mafia politics. The commission was made up of representatives from the 5 major families that controlled New York's organized crime. They met to resolve disputes, sanction unauthorized actions, and maintain the balance of power that kept all-out war from erupting. Dante's accusation was that Rossini had been violating territorial agreements and framing Dante for it. Rossini's counteraccusation was that Dante was becoming unstable, breaking engagements, trusting outsiders, making emotional decisions that endangered the careful balance they'd maintained. It's all about perception, Marco explained to Elena as they sat in Dante's office. The enforcer had warmed to her after she'd brought him homemade cannoli and asked intelligent questions about security protocols. The families don't care about emotions or love. They care about strength, strategy, profit. So we make breaking the engagement look strategic, Elena said slowly. Dante, who'd been on the phone with his lawyers, ended the call and looked at her with interest. What are you thinking? Sofia mentioned that her father forced her into this engagement. What if we spin it that way? Not as you breaking your word, but as you refusing to honor a contract made under duress. Make it about honor, not emotion. Luca, who'd been cleaning his gun in the corner, paused. That could work. The families respect honor. If we frame it as Caruso dishonoring the agreement first by coercing Sofia. We'd need proof, Dante said, but his eyes were sharp with consideration. Testimony, evidence of what Caruso did to Sofia's lover. I have evidence, came a voice from the doorway. They all turned to see Sofia standing there, a USB drive in her hand. How did you get in? Dante demanded. Your security is good, but I've known your code since we were teenagers. She walked in, placed the drive on the desk. Police reports from when they found Marco Antonelli's body. Medical examiner's notes. And a recording I made of my father admitting what he did, thinking I'd never use it against him. Dante stared at her. Sofia. He took the only man I ever loved and made me watch as they buried what was left of him, Sofia said, her voice steady but her eyes haunted. I've been too afraid to use this, but not anymore. Use it, Dante. Show them what kind of man my father is. Elena stood and embraced Sofia, who stiffened in surprise before hugging her back. Thank you, Elena whispered. Thank me by keeping him safe, Sofia whispered back. And by making him happy in ways I never could. The meeting took place in a private room of a restaurant in Little Italy, neutral territory owned by no family. Elena waited in an outer room with Sofia while Dante and his inner circle met with the commission. Through the partially open door she could hear voices. You're claiming Caruso violated the terms of your engagement? That was Don Lombardi, eldest of the commission members. I'm saying the engagement was built on coercion and murder, Dante replied. Sofia Caruso was forced into it after her father killed the man she loved. I present evidence of this crime and ask the commission to rule that no honorable agreement can be built on such dishonor. Preposterous. That was Caruso's voice. My daughter agreed of her own free will. Then let her testify to that. Silence. Then Lombardi, bring in Sofia Caruso. Sofia squeezed Elena's hand once, then walked into the room with her head high. Elena heard her clear voice recounting what her father had done, heard the click of the recording playing, heard the gasps and muttered oaths from the commission members. When Sofia emerged 15 minutes later, she was pale but steady. Your turn, she told Elena. My turn? I'm not. Rossini demanded you be questioned about your relationship with Dante. He's claiming you're a distraction, a weakness. Sofia's eyes were fierce. Show them you're not. Elena's heart pounded as she walked into the room. 6 men sat around a table, and Dante stood at one end, his expression carefully neutral though his eyes blazed when he saw her. Rossini smiled unpleasantly. Ah, the maid. Tell me, Miss Torres, how long have you been sharing Dante Salvatore's bed? I haven't, Elena said clearly. Really? Because my sources say. Your sources are wrong. Elena met his gaze steadily. Mr. Salvatore has been nothing but professional and honorable in his conduct toward me. Then why break his engagement? Why risk everything? Elena looked at Dante, then back at the commission. Because honor means nothing if it's built on lies. Because pretending to love someone you don't is its own kind of betrayal. And because some things are worth fighting for. Pretty words, Rossini sneered. But how do we know you're not a spy? A plant from a rival family? Or just a gold digger who saw an opportunity? You don't, Elena admitted. You have to trust Dante Salvatore's judgment. And if you can't trust the judgment of a man who's tripled the Salvatore family's legitimate businesses, who's maintained peace even when provoked, who's proven himself honorable time and again, she let the implication hang. Don Lombardi actually smiled. The girl has spine. I like her. He looked at Dante. You're certain of this path, Salvatore? Completely, Dante said, his eyes never leaving Elena. And you, Caruso? Lombardi turned to Sophia's father. What do you say to these accusations? Caruso's face was mottled with rage. My daughter is traitor and liar. Your daughter is brave, Dante interrupted. And I won't let you threaten her any more. The room erupted into argument. But eventually, after hours of debate, the commission ruled. The engagement between Dante Salvatore and Sofia Caruso was nullified. Caruso was sanctioned for unauthorized violence. And Rossini's accusations of territorial violations against Dante were dismissed due to lack of evidence. It wasn't a complete victory. Caruso was still a powerful enemy now, and Rossini had made his intentions clear, but it was enough. 3 weeks after the commission meeting, Elena stood on the balcony of Dante's penthouse, watching the sunset paint Manhattan gold and crimson. Strong arms wrapped around her from behind, and she leaned back against Dante's chest. Penny for your thoughts, he murmured, kissing her temple. Just thinking how much has changed, she said. A few months ago I was drowning. Now I'm living in a penthouse with a man who's simultaneously the most dangerous and safest person I've ever known. He chuckled. How's your mother? The new treatment is working. Doctor says she might go into remission. Elena turned in his arms. Miguel loves his new dorm room. And I got an A on my anatomy exam. Of course you did. You're brilliant. He kissed her softly. I'm proud of you, Tesoro. Even though I'm dating a criminal? Reformed criminal, he corrected. Mostly. She laughed. It was true. Since the commission meeting, Dante had been methodically transitioning his family's operations toward legitimate businesses. It would take years, maybe decades, but he was trying. For her. For the future they might build together. Her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and frowned. What's wrong? Dante asked immediately. Probably nothing. Just a weird text from an unknown number. She showed him the screen. Beautiful sunset. Enjoy it while you can. Dante's entire body went rigid. He pulled out his own phone, barked orders to Marco. Within minutes, the penthouse was on lockdown. It might be nothing, Elena protested, though fear churned in her stomach. Or it might be Rossini making good on his threats. Or Caruso seeking revenge. Dante cupped her face. I won't lose you, Elena. Not to them, not to anyone. You won't, she promised. We're in this together, remember? But as night fell over New York City, both of them knew the biggest challenges were still ahead. Love in Dante's world came with a price, and they were only beginning to learn how high that price might be. You're sure about this? Elena asked, studying her reflection in the mirror. The woman looking back at her wore an elegant navy dress, her hair swept up in a sophisticated style. She looked like she belonged at a high society function, not like a girl who'd grown up in a cramped apartment in Queens. I'm sure, Dante said from the doorway. It's time my family met you properly. All of them. Tonight was the Salvatore family's annual gala, a black tie affair that brought together not just the crime family, but their legitimate business associates, political connections, and old money New York society. It was where deals were made, alliances forged, and reputations cemented. It was also where Dante would formally introduce Elena as his partner, cementing their relationship in the eyes of everyone who mattered in his world. Your uncle still hates me, Elena pointed out. My uncle hates everyone. Don't take it personally. Dante adjusted his bow tie, looking devastatingly handsome in his tuxedo. Besides, my mother loves you. That's what matters. It was true. Maria Salvatore, a formidable woman who'd ruled the family's social sphere for decades, had surprised everyone by warmly embracing Elena. You make my son smile, she'd said simply. That's all I need to know. The gala was held at a historic mansion on Long Island, all marble columns and glittering chandeliers. Elena felt Dante's hand at the small of her back as they entered, grounding her. "Remember," he murmured, "you've already faced down the commission. This is nothing." But as they mingled through the crowd, shaking hands with senators and CEOs, exchanging pleasantries with people who viewed crime as just another business, Elena couldn't shake a feeling of unease. Then she saw him, Rossini, standing by the bar watching them with a predator's smile. "He shouldn't be here," Dante growled. "He was invited by your uncle." Marco appeared at Dante's elbow. "As a gesture of reconciliation." "My uncle is going to get someone killed with his gestures." Dante's jaw clenched. "Stay close to Elena. I'm going to have words with." Glass shattered. Elena heard screams, saw people diving for cover as gunfire erupted. Dante shoved her behind a marble pillar as Marco and Luca returned fire toward the entrance where masked gunmen had burst in. "We need to get you out," Dante shouted over the chaos. "Not without you. Elena." More gunfire. One of the gunmen went down, but another was advancing toward their position. Dante stepped out, fired twice with lethal precision, and the attacker fell. But in the chaos, Elena saw Rossini slipping toward a side exit. And clutched in his arms, struggling, was Sofia. "Dante." Elena pointed. His eyes went dark with fury. "Marco, get Elena to the car." "Luca, with me." "No," Elena said firmly. "You're not facing him alone. This isn't a discussion." "You're right, it's not." She grabbed a fallen gun, something she'd learned to use over the past months because Dante had insisted she know how to protect herself. "We're wasting time. Let's go." Dante looked like he wanted to argue, but Sofia's scream decided him. He grabbed Elena's hand and they ran. They caught up to Rossini in the mansion's garden. He had Sofia pressed against a fountain, a gun to her head. "Far enough, Salvatore," he called. "Or I paint the fountain with her brains." "Let her go, Rossini. This is between you and me." "That's where you're wrong. It's between me and everything you care about." His eyes found Elena. "Starting with your little maid. If you hurt either of them." "You'll what?" "You've already gone soft, Dante. Everyone sees it. The commission might have ruled in your favor, but they all know the truth. You're weak. Distracted by love." He spat the word like a curse. "Men like us don't get to love. We take, we control, we dominate. That's what your father understood. That's what you've forgotten." "My father died alone and hated by his own children," Dante said coldly. "If that's strength, I'll take weakness." In the distance, sirens wailed. Someone had called the police. Rossini's smile turned desperate. "Then die weak." Everything happened at once. Rossini's gun started to swing toward Dante. Elena raised her weapon. She'd never shot anyone before, wasn't sure she could, but Sofia moved first, throwing her weight backward into Rossini. His shot went wide. Dante's didn't. Rossini fell, clutching his shoulder. Luca and Marco rushed forward, securing him as police flooded the garden. Dante pulled both Elena and Sofia into his arms. "Are you both all right?" "I'm fine," Sofia said shakily. "Elena?" "I'm okay." But she was trembling, the adrenaline crash hitting her. "You're incredible," Dante murmured, kissing her temple. "And you're never doing anything that dangerous again." "Then you should stop being in danger," she retorted, but her voice shook. Sofia laughed a little hysterically. "You two are perfect for each other, both completely insane." 6 months later, the small church in Queens was filled with flowers and friends. No commission members, no crime families, no business associates. Just the people who actually mattered. Elena's mother, healthy and smiling, sat in the front row next to Miguel and Dante's mother. Sofia sat beside them, her new boyfriend, a kind accountant who made her laugh, holding her hand. Marco and Luca stood as groomsmen, looking uncomfortable in their tuxedos. And at the altar, Dante waited, his eyes locked on the church doors. When they opened and Elena appeared in her simple but beautiful wedding dress, his breath caught. She'd never looked more radiant. The ceremony was short and sweet. No mafia drama, no threats, no danger, just two people promising to love each other through whatever came. "I, Dante Salvatore, take you, Elena Torres, to be my lawfully wedded wife," Dante said, his voice steady and sure. "I promise to protect you, cherish you, and love you for all my days. You've made me believe in redemption, in second chances, in the possibility of being something more than what I was born to be." Elena's eyes shimmered with tears. "I, Elena Torres, take you, Dante Salvatore, to be my lawfully wedded husband. I promise to stand beside you, challenge you, and love you fiercely. You've shown me that strength comes in many forms, and that sometimes the most dangerous thing is opening your heart." When the priest pronounced them husband and wife, Dante pulled Elena into his arms and kissed her like she was his salvation, which in many ways she was. At the reception held in a small Italian restaurant owned by Dante's cousin, Elena found herself slow dancing with her husband in front of their small gathering of loved ones. "Any regrets?" Dante murmured. "Only that we didn't have cannoli at the ceremony." He laughed. "I love you, Mrs. Salvatore. I love you too." She looked up at him. "So what happens now? Where do we go from here?" "Wherever you want," he said. "I've been approached about running for city council, completely legitimate using my business background. Or we could leave New York entirely, start fresh somewhere else. Or we stay," Elena interrupted. "We stay and we build something good here. We use your power and resources to actually help people. We prove that people can change, that redemption is possible." His smile was brilliant. "Have I mentioned you're extraordinary? Once or twice? Well, here's once more. You're extraordinary, Elena Salvatore. And spending the rest of my life proving worthy of you will be my greatest accomplishment." As they danced under the twinkling lights, surrounded by family and friends, Elena thought about the journey that had brought them here. From that terrifying first night when she discovered blood in a penthouse bathroom, to this moment of perfect peace and joy. She'd walked into Dante Salvatore's world expecting danger and found love instead. She'd faced down mobsters and proved that strength wasn't about violence. It was about having the courage to be vulnerable, to trust, to hope. And yes, there would still be challenges ahead. Some members of Dante's family would never fully accept her. His past would always cast shadows. But they would face it all together. Because some love stories aren't about perfection. They're about two imperfect people choosing each other again and again, no matter what obstacles stand in their way. Later that night, in their honeymoon suite, Dante presented Elena with a small box. "Another gift?" She laughed. "You've already given me everything." "Not everything." He opened it to reveal a key. "Remember that conversation about using my resources to help people? I bought a building in your old neighborhood. I want to turn it into a community health center, free or low-cost medical care for families who can't afford it. And I want you to run it." Elena stared at the key, then at him. "Dante, you wanted to be a nurse to help people. This way you can help hundreds, maybe thousands. We'll staff it with the best doctors, the best equipment. We'll make it a place where people like your mother can get the care they deserve without choosing between treatment and rent." Tears streamed down her face. "How did I get so lucky? I'm the lucky one, tesoro." He wiped her tears gently. "You took a broken man living in darkness and showed him what light looked like. The least I can do is help you share that light with others." She kissed him, pouring every ounce of love and gratitude into it. Outside their window, New York City glittered with a million lights, each one a story, a struggle, a hope. Tomorrow, they would begin building something beautiful from the ashes of Dante's old life. They would prove that love could conquer even the darkest circumstances. But tonight, they were just Elena and Dante, a girl from Queens and a reformed Mafia boss, brought together by fate and bound by a love that had survived every test. Some might call it a fairy tale. Others might call it impossible. They simply called it theirs. And that was enough. If you enjoyed Elena and Dante's story, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss our next romance story. Drop a comment telling us what you loved most about this story, and let us know what kind of romance you'd like to hear next. Billionaire, Mafia, small town, or something completely different. Your support means everything. Like this video if Dante and Elena's love story captured your heart. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you in the next story.